What is up, suppers? It is Dives, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to our Halloween special episode. I am here with Christy. Follow her on Twitter at BringMeUpMusic. How you doing, Christy?
I'm doing so great. How are you?
I'm doing really well. It is October, and that means one thing and one thing only: Halloween movies. Woo!
Yay!
So we are going to give you our top 10 best of the best of Halloween in film and TV. What do you say, Christy? Are you ready to suit up?
I'm so ready. Let's go.
Let's suit up. Hey guys, it is Christy and I, and we are going to give you our top 10 film and TV Halloween themed. How do you explain this, Christy?
It's so hard to explain because there are Halloween movies, they're the made-for-TV movies, they're the TV episodes from our childhood, and some of it includes the music. It's all of the media that makes it Halloween-orific.
You nailed it, Christy. Ready to get started? I cannot do that better than what you just did. We are going to give you between TV and film, all the music. So everything Halloween, what we love about Halloween, what we watch on TV, whether it's film and TV. So let's get started. We're going to give you some honorable mentions. Christy, do you have an honorable mention?
Oh gosh, I think I have a few.
Okay.
Can we sprinkle them in throughout?
Sure.
Or should we just do it all at once?
I say we get it all at once and we'll count down from 10 to 1.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Do you want to start us off?
So my honorable mention is Curious George Halloween Boo Fest. Because to this day, I'm 38 years old, and I still need to watch Curious George Halloween Boo Fest this time of year because it is an amazing cartoon, and my kids love it, and it makes me happy. And I have to say, it has a spooky story to it for the little ones. So Curious George is on my honorable mention list.
All right. This could not have started any better because I am going... This one's for Dave. Dave is our co-host to Suit Up. This one is also for Dave, and he would kill me. Halloween theme pun there. If I didn't have it on here, but my honorable mention is Ernest Scared Stupid. All right, so I got to go with Ernest Scared Stupid because this movie literally traumatized me as a kid. I am 35. Oh, no. A little fun fact. Ernest Scared Stupid, to this day, is the only movie I've ever had to walk out of because I was so scared.
What?
True story.
You cannot be serious.
I was 7 years old at the time when it was released. I still remember it. It's one of those stupid Jim Varney movies, but he unleashes this army of trolls onto this small town during Halloween, and like... Christy, I grew up to Friday the 13th. I grew up to Nightmare on Elm Street. But for some reason, this movie just absolutely freaked out. It's literally about these horrific trolls sucking the life out of these kids. And they put...
That does sound terrifying.
The troll traps the souls of these kids in these wooden dolls, and they're alive in these dolls. They can't move. They're just sitting there and suffering. And that movie just completely freaked me out. Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh my gosh. You know, a spin-off on that though, when you said that, have you seen the new Sabrina, the Teenage Witch Chillers? Because there's an episode of that where there are kids that are turned into wooden toys, like by Santa. It's like a Santa demon. It's terrifying. That totally reminds me of Ernest Scared Stupid now that you mentioned it.
And now that you mentioned that, I just got done watching the new Sabrina show on Netflix, and I loved it. And I'm punching myself right now for not putting it on this list.
Well, it wasn't on my list either, but you just made it happen. It's a Halloween miracle. It's magic.
All right. Well, do you have another honorable mention?
Yes, and it is the dog that saved Halloween.
I love it.
So the dog that saved Halloween is the stupidest. I mean, Dean Cain's in this, and he's like a thief, you know. So Superman has come down in the world, and Halloween is saved by a talking dog, and it's just so hilarious. Everything about it just is cringeworthy, but I absolutely love it. It has the haunted house, it has the costumes, it has that whole, you know, what's going to happen next, and of course the nosy neighbor that thinks that their neighbor is like up to no good and going to destroy the world, and it's perfect.
Very good one. So good. All right, so my next honorable mention. I don't really have an episode here, but I had to throw it on here because it was such a meaningful show to me growing up as a kid. So I'm in my 30s. My honorable mention here is Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh my gosh, I love it! I love Snick at Night.
Nick at Night. So
oh my gosh.
I'm in my 30s, and anyone that's my age and is a huge fan of Halloween surely grew up, you know, reading Goosebumps, but more importantly, watching Are You Afraid of the Dark on Snick on Nickelodeon. This is me as a kid, quintessential, you know, little dibbler. My parents go out, they go for drinks at night, and I'm sitting in bed waiting for Nick at Night and Are You Afraid of the Dark to come on. I was at like 8 o'clock, and that's just me sitting in my bed, being shitless scared about the show. And a little tidbit about the show, it's actually being revived, and it's coming back next week.
OMG, I did not know that.
Yep.
I wanted to be part of the Midnight Society so badly growing up. I desperately wanted to. There was an episode with a little boy who froze to death. Do you remember that one?
No.
And they found his coat like in an old stump outside in the woods. But anyway, it was what's her face was in it? Melissa Joan Hart was in it. She was the babysitter, and the ghost kept waking her up at night saying, "I'm cold. I'm cold."
Just a classic show. The theme song to that series is still like gives me goosebumps, pun intended.
Yes. Yes. See, that's why it had to be all media, because the music makes it.
Yep. We're going to get into a lot of music. Do you have any other honorable mentions here?
Sort of. So we mentioned this in our horror movie podcast. Halloween made the list on that, the movie Halloween. But the reason I wanted to mention it for this one is because of the Halloween theme song. So it's actually for the entire month of October, my ringtone on my phone is that Halloween creepy ass music that plays in that movie, and it freaks me out every time my phone rings.
Love it.
And I absolutely
love it. I love it. So. That's a really good one. I did not have any slasher movies on my top 10. How about that?
I don't either. Right. I don't either.
Okay. It's really interesting how everyone perceives Halloween differently. You know, my love for Halloween is literally that, the love of trick-or-treating, the love of dressing up in costumes, the love of the spirit of Halloween. Like, that's kind of where my top 10 goes. Is there any kind of general themes of your top 10 list?
They're just all family friendly, all of them. I could watch any of these with my kids, well, except maybe one of them. Or maybe my older one. My older son could watch that with me. But they're family friendly. They're magic. They make you feel good. They just make you get in the spirit. Just like you said, it's just about being able to be anything you want. Halloween just brings out that extra layer of fun for people.
100%. All right, ready to get started?
Yes.
All right, coming in at number 10. Lead us off, Christy.
Oh gosh. Okay, so number 10 for me is When Good Ghouls Go Bad.
Ooh, what's that?
When Good Ghouls Go Bad has Christopher Lloyd in it, and I love Christopher Lloyd, and he's part of this town that's all decorated for Halloween, and they do this pumpkin tower, and tragically the pumpkin tower falls on him.
What?
he meets an untimely death,
no.
and then he's a ghost throughout the entire movie, and it's perfect when good ghouls go bad. So that it couldn't be an honorable mention because Christopher Lloyd is just too good, so it had to
I
be my
couldn't
10.
agree more. It's not on my list. What a way to go out. Christopher Lloyd, man. Jeez. All right, my number 10, I went with Stranger Things, season 2, chapter 2. I don't know if you remember this episode, but the Boys of Hawkins need a nod here because obviously it's like my favorite show of all time. But like, especially when you see them trick or treating. So you literally have a full season before this episode of them living in this like horror movie. You know, they're fighting, you know, all these kind of like demons and all that kind of stuff. And then you see them trick or treating in their Ghostbusters costumes. Do you remember that, Christy?
Oh my gosh, yes, I do.
It's basically a meaningless episode. Nothing really happens. In fact, the first 3 episodes of Stranger Things, like nothing really happens. But Stranger Things is like probably in my top 10 list of favorite shows of all time. It has that perfect balance of like Goonies and sci-fi. So I just love this show so much. It has to be in my list.
Absolutely. I 100%
All right,
agree.
let's move on to number 9. Go ahead, Christy.
Edward Scissorhands.
Good one. Very good.
Yes, 1990. Edward Scissorhands, Johnny Depp. Love Johnny Depp. Creepiest movie ever. There's just, I mean, that movie really should haunt people, but it doesn't because he's good. And you just feel bad for him. But those scissor hands. They just, you look, I mean, do you remember the movie poster for this movie? It was just creepy scissor claw looking hands and the scratches all over his face and just, ugh. But anyway, yeah, straight from hell. Edward Scissorhands.
Tim Burton at his finest can only like give you such a grotesque kind of plot, and it just tugs the heartstrings. Like that is one of the more emotional movies. That's Tim Burton at his finest. I think we're going to get into Tim Burton very soon.
Okay.
But let's talk about music. Oh my gosh, that Edward Scissorhands has one of the best soundtracks of all time.
Soundtracks, yeah.
Right, my number 9 is The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. All right, has to be on the list. I was actually tinkering about leaving it off, maybe making it an honorable mention. It's got to be on there. I mean, if you're a Halloween lover, everyone has seen It's the Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. You can literally feel the October coming out of the TV when you watch this movie. Like, many of us have grown up to this film. The thing I love most about Charlie Brown Halloween Special is just it's so simple. You know, it's about the love of Halloween, and there's no gruesome, bloody scenes in this. There's no horror. It's not a thriller. It just shows what Halloween's always about, and that is just the fun of trick or treating. It's about being with your friends, and it's just the spirit of Halloween. I have to have it on this list. So that's my number 9. Any reaction to that?
Yes, because it's my number 8. The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown, and I think I just felt so bad for Charlie Brown because he kept getting the rocks. I got a rock, and then also another scene in that. No, I guess it's not a scene; it's animated. But when Lucy's bobbing for apples and she kisses Snoopy, like. That's just the best part. Her reaction is just amazing. But if you remember when they were having the Halloween party and they were doing the bobbing for apples, I loved the decorations, the orange crepe paper and the pumpkins hanging everywhere. It was just
and Snoopy as the pilot. Like, that's just classic Schultz. Like, that's, I love Charlie Brown. I guess I'll give you my number 8, I guess. All right.
Okay.
All right. My number 8 is Home Improvement, and it is the episode Crazy for You. It was season 3, episode 6, and it took place in 1993. Did you watch Home Improvement at all?
I did,
Tim the
yes,
Ghoul
Tim
Man
Allen.
Taylor, baby. All right, so we are going with Crazy from You. This is one of the best, for me, sitcom scares because who doesn't love a good prank? This is like this macho Tim Allen. He thinks he's so macho. And everyone's going back and forth. Tim thinks he can't be scared. Um, it's what in the episode, it's like this Tim has this secret admirer, and Tim it gets to start worrying about this like obsessive fan, but then it becomes Jill that is the obsessive fan and pranks Tim. And it was just such a classic episode. It's one that when I was a kid, I think I watched like 20 times. So it's just a classic. That's my number 8. Do you remember that episode?
I do remember that episode. See, they don't make TV shows
No.
like that anymore. They don't make like those family sitcoms that do the seasonal shows. They don't do that. It's so not fair.
I
Our
fully
kids are
agree.
missing
These
out.
were just classic Halloween episodes, and kind of like it was kind of like my childhood. Like I loved being scared, and I love scaring other people, just like I love doing pranks on other people. Like that was like my relationship with my dad and myself, and we would just go back and forth. So I'm going to lead that off with the X-Files because I was very traumatized with the X-Files growing up. All right, so my number 7 is the X-Files. I grew up watching this every Friday night with my dad. He traumatized me by saying, "Bye, Chris. See you later. The aliens are going to come and get me," and would literally walk out of the house. And then there's me, little me, like 10-year-old me, just like crying, like, "No, Daddy, no! Like, don't leave." Like, so all right. So the X-Files, is one of my favorite shows of all time. It's Halloween. If you're looking for one of the best scares during Halloween, this has to be the show because I always come back to the episode. I mean, a lot of people think X-Files is like a sci-fi show, but people forget that there's like a lot of Monster of the Week kind of episodes in the X-Files, so I consider that horror. All right, so the best X-Files episode of all time is Home. Have you ever watched that episode?
No, I'm going to have to admit to you that I don't think I have seen any X-Files episode.
Do not watch this with your kids. This is so oh man. It's the Texas Chainsaw Massacre meets the X-Files. So in this episode, Mulder and Scully, they're in this small town. It's shot in black and white. And there's a lot of like 50s, 40s kind of music in the background. So it has that full-on creepy vibe going on the entire episode. And Mulder and Scully investigate the death of this family. And they find out that this family, this grotesque and mutilated family, inbred family, are killing other families. And yeah, if you want to crap your pants on Halloween, this is the episode to watch. It's just a classic X-Files episode. That is Home by the X-Files. What's your number 7?
Okay, so my number 7 is Roseanne, the old original Roseanne TV series. Didn't really get into that show, but my family and I, for some reason, always watched the Halloween episodes. And now you can actually buy the Roseanne Halloween episodes as a set. They're just that nostalgic, that cultish, and my kids and I love them. We watch all of them, and Roseanne and would just dress up as a witch. They would have a haunted house in their own house, and they would play jokes on each other, and it was always who's going to be the master of Halloween, and it was just hilarious. And their kids would get in on it, and it was just like I can just hear them saying Darlene because she pretended to bite her tongue and like was dripping chocolate syrup out of her mouth into her sister's cereal bowl. It was so gross and so hilarious. And I definitely have really great memories of watching.
It's a good one. I probably have seen it. I don't remember it though. I'm going to write that down. I'm definitely going to watch that. Number 6. Do you want to lead us off?
Sure. So this is another TV show. Psych is my favorite TV show of all time.
So the funny
Have you
story
watched
about
Psych?
that is, if you listen to our other Suit Up pods, I'm so weird with TV. Like, if I didn't get into Psych until um, everyone started telling me you have to watch Psych, because knowing me, everyone was like, that is going to be hands down your favorite show of all time. But if it's already in like a third or fourth season, I'm not catching up. I'm sorry, it's like a weird thing for me, but I've never seen it.
What? Okay. So this is just one that you're going to need to just start from the very beginning. You can watch all of the seasons on Amazon Prime.
I think I should.
Do it.
I should. This is not the first time I've heard this.
I agree.
I've been getting bitched at by my friends for not watching Psych for years.
Well, I have to agree with them, Chris, because there's so many amazing 80s references, and Sean and Gus are a dynamic duo. They're best friends that you just wish that you need to have. You want to be friends with them. But anyway, they also have a DVD set that you can buy that's just their Halloween episodes. I think there's 7 or 8 episodes, and my favorite is called Tuesday the 17th. Um, and it's just like a riff on Friday the 13th. So you, having grown up with Friday the 13th, would absolutely love
Yeah.
this particular episode. Definitely watch it. It's just like a complete 10 out of 10. So, I mean, and it is scary. My kids love Psych, but they
Okay.
always skip that
All right.
episode.
I need to watch it. I'll put it on the to-do list. Anyway, all right. My number 6. My number 6 is Casper from 1995. All right. All right. So there's something so wondrous about the movie Casper. It's a great quintessential 90s movie, but it's also one of the best Halloween movies of all time, I think. For a movie about ghosts, like Casper just has so much incredible soul and so much heart. There's a lot of really good, memorable moments in this movie. I have no idea, Christy, why I love Casper so much. It just connects with me. Is it dumb? Yes. But it's a movie that you just have to take on surface level. Like, it's not deep. It makes no sense. But it's just one of my favorite Halloween flicks. It's just so heartwarming. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, and I think that it is a sweet story, but it also is kind of sad. It actually leads me into my next one because it reminds me
Ooh, yeah.
of Beetlejuice. Because Beetlejuice is my next, but Casper is, this family that is lost, and the mom has died, and they're moving, and the father's coming to terms with having lost his wife, and the daughter is not sure what to do, and Casper becomes her friend, and I totally get that. And I mean, if you take it to a dark Tim Burton level, it becomes Beetlejuice, because that is a loss of life and people coming to terms with dealing with grief and dealing with their anxieties. And Beetlejuice is one of my favorite movies ever, but especially around this time of year. I have a soft spot for pretty much anything Tim Burton, and again, for the music. But Michael Keaton, oh my gosh, this has to be one of his best
Batman
roles
Says Hi.
ever. All right, fine. Batman's up at the top, number 1, and he is the best Batman in my opinion. But Beetlejuice
Keaton is the best
stellar.
Batman, other than Kevin Conroy. That's for another podcast. Beetlejuice is a great pick. I'm going with The Haunting of Hill House, a new show on Netflix. I went with Cute and Charming in number 6. So I'm going a 180 with a ghost story of The Haunting of Hill House for my number 5. Just a truly great story, I think, in general. I admit The Haunting of Hill House is a slow burn, but I love, personally, slow burn, character-driven, basically dramas like The Haunting of Hill House, and it really picks up. It's got a lot of things in, like, similar to The Conjuring, Insidious, like every single scene is just expertly crafted that there could be a ghost in every single corner of every single shot that you have to rewatch the episode and be like, oh, I saw a ghost. But anyway, so little moving forward, season 2 is coming out next year. It's not going to be anything about the Cranes. There might be some returning characters, but they won't be main characters. It's going to be a new show. Season 2 comes out in 2020, and that's my number 5.
Oh, that's amazing.
Oh,
that
it's
sounds good. I've not seen that.
Oh, it really builds up. The tension is just like going up on a roller coaster, and it just goes when you go down. Like it's full on. It's full on ghost story. I think you would really like it.
I'll definitely have to check it out. Oh my gosh, you give me so much to have to watch. You did this last time too. Like I need to have more hours.
I agree with that.
So what are we?
We are number 4.
Are we on 4? Okay, so 4 for me is Ghostbusters. The first one, 1984. I think anything that has Ghostbusters in it is amazing. The cartoons, everything. I have Ghostbusters pens. I'm just obsessed with Ghostbusters. And Chris, if someone asks if you're a god, you say yes. So you really just, there's so many great one-liners in that. And again, the soundtrack. Ghostbusters soundtracks were always awesome. Always. And so the music just gets me. I mean, if you get any Halloween CD like to play, I don't know, people don't have CDs anymore, but to play like while people are trick-or-treating, the Ghostbusters song is
always, and I'll go into Ghostbusters 2 by Bobby Brown. There's so many great music in that series. My number 4, I can't forget about Ecto Cooler. Like that was the and the Ecto lunchboxes, like that was no one.
Yes.
I mean, not no one. Everyone had those Ecto Coolers and the Ecto lunchboxes. That was everywhere.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
My number 4 is Hocus Pocus. All right. So such a great flick. On one end, it's like this simple like family movie about Halloween, and on the other end, it's about, witches and a plot to suck the life force out of children. This is like the perfect balance of a great movie for kids and adults. It's got some double entendres. It's got some like sexual innuendo. But basically, it's never too scary enough for kids to watch. The witches here are obviously the main stars of the film. It's just a playful Halloween movie for tweens. It has to be on this list. This is like where we're getting into Hocus Pocus is not one of my favorite movies, but it's one of my favorite Halloween movies.
I love Hocus Pocus. Absolutely. It's another one with some great one-liners, and I completely agree it has to be on the list. Whether it's the best movie in the world or not is not up for debate. It just has to be on the Halloween list.
Let's go on to number 3. All right, I'll lead us off. I'm going to go with Coco is my number 3. It's a recent movie by Pixar. I mean, Coco is about the Day of the Dead, captures the themes of life and death. Takes place during the Day of the Dead, so it's got to be on the list, right? So Coco counts as a Halloween movie for me. It's just masterclass in visuals, animation, and music. While I laughed like a good 50% of this movie, this is just a emotional roller coaster. I mean, I don't know anyone who didn't cry in that last act of Coco. It's just a really good fantasy adventure movie. It really gives life and death true meaning. And what's more Halloween than that?
Exactly. And it is beautifully done. You are so right. The visuals, I don't know that there's anything that matches that.
I mean,
to be honest,
it's like, yeah, I agree. Like there's like the latest Lion King was really good, but even that, I don't know. I think I'll go with Coco on that. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is Halloween Town. Yay! Yay! Could we have a more ridiculous fantasy Halloween movie than Halloween Town? I don't think so. I don't think we can. So this one came out. I was in high school, 1998. I wanted to be Marnie, even though she was only 13 and I was older than that. She found out she was a witch on her 13th birthday, and I think that's just awesome. But it's just hokey, rotten goodness. And the family coming together, finding out that they're supernatural, and that the mom has just wanted them to lead a normal life is just funny. And then in the end, when they are fighting the bad thing, which is what they call it, it's not a monster, it's a bad thing. And they all do it together, and even the little brother, who is like this science nerd all about logic and there's no such thing as witches, and then you see little sparks coming from his fingers, and it's like, yes, they got you. So they fight against evil, they save the world. Halloween Town is on
number
my
3.
list.
All right, let's go on to number 2. Do you want to go, or do you want me to go?
Well, number 2 is Hocus Pocus for me. So you already talked about Hocus Pocus. I actually was in Hocus Pocus for Halloween several years with my friends. Like, we dressed up as the Sanderson sisters. And I, even to this day, when I watch the movie with my kids, can quote pretty much the entire movie. I say it before it happens, and it drives them crazy. They just can't stand it, because they don't let them enjoy the show. But I can't. It just happens. It just comes out. So I keep hearing rumors that there's going to be a sequel. I don't know if you've heard that. I don't know if there's truth to that.
They have been talking about that for a long time. I think it's just a matter of like getting everyone kind of on board, I think.
Well, I don't know, but I wake up and if it's dreary out, I'll say, "Oh, look, another glorious morning." Totally me.
So good, though. My number two is the most important TV show of all time. The Simpsons Treehouse of Horror 5. No other television show has mastered the Halloween special like The Simpsons. So with each episode, it has it's basically split into 3 segments, telling these separate stories. And as a kid growing up in the 90s, this was a staple in my life, waiting for the Halloween Simpsons episode. And number 5 is the best of the best. It included The Shining, which, remember talking about, that was in my top 3 horror movies of all time. So it was a play on The Shining. Just hilarious. Then you had Time and Punishment, another kind of sci-fi theme. And then you had Nightmare Cafeteria, where all of the teachers are eating their students. Like, as a 10-year-old, who wouldn't love that? It was just so well done. All of these segments here, though, are classic Homer Simpson. This is just a quintessential special that represents Halloween for me. That's my number 2.
Okay, I'm so nervous about number 1. I don't know why I'm nervous, but I am. I'm like, my palms are sweaty. I just can't wait to talk about my number 1 movie. This is like the best movie ever. I could watch it every day, and I'm sure I've watched it 365
I 100% echo that statement. This is not a best of Halloween. This is my favorite movie of all time.
Of all time? Oh my gosh, it just got real.
Should I start off?
This just got real.
My number 1 Halloween media is Nightmare Before Christmas. All right. Tim Burton. So before we get started, no, this is not a Christmas movie. The Nightmare Before Christmas is 100% Halloween movie. Don't debate me, Christy. Just don't. There are Christmas elements in this movie. A large portion of this film is dedicated to Jack Skellington. He is in Halloween Town. It's not about Christmas Town. It is about Halloween Town. All right, I'm just kidding. So there's that's a real debate. That's a legit real debate that I've gotten into myself.
I can tell. I
All right,
can tell,
so I don't
yes.
really care. All right, so Nightmare Before Christmas is my number one Halloween movie. The animation, the music, the creepy setting, the movie is literally perfection. This is this is beyond Halloween. It's my favorite. Like between this movie, The Incredibles, like this is my top two animated movies of all time. I saw this when I was 9 years old, and I think it's like between this and like Jurassic Park that literally opened my eyes to film and to what it is and to what it could be. Like these were movies that this and Jurassic Park were movies that completely blew my mind at the time when I saw this in the theater, and I'm pretty sure this is like exactly where my love for film came from. So that's my little spiel on Nightmare Before Christmas.
I love your spiel, and I can see that. I can totally see that. I love Nightmare Before Christmas. It didn't make my list. It was there. Um, I told you, and before we started recording, it was really hard for me to get to 10. I mean, my page was full when I started writing things down, and I didn't even have to go to the Google or anything. Like this was just all top of mind. I love all these movies. But Nightmare Before Christmas was on the paper. It just did
Oh,
not
the
make my
music
top
is hands
10.
down. I'm gonna get flamed for saying this. It's up there with The Lion King. That it is, and that soundtrack.
Really?
I think we're like on the same levels. Like your Hocus Pocus is my Nightmare Before Christmas. Like that's just that plays through our house like on a every other week basis. That's how much I love that soundtrack. I love it.
Well, this is my house. My bathroom upstairs
Cool.
is Nightmare Before Christmas. I have Jack Skellington hooks that hold the shower curtain up, and a Nightmare Before Christmas plate around the light switch.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
all very, very that. So I get it. Yeah, I wouldn't. I do. I guess I would have to get in that debate with you with Halloween and Christmas because I do watch it
uh,
more, I think, around Christmas because he so desperately wants to
yeah,
know what
yeah.
Christmas is about.
I let's save that for another pod. I'm not complaining.
Okay.
I'm not complaining.
Okay.
It's
So,
just such a good movie. I watch it for both, so I fully admit that.
yeah, no, it is. It's fantastic. Tim Burton is just
Yep.
tearing up our lists today, for sure.
Yep.
The king of Halloween. So, they're here.
Awesome.
Poltergeist is
Nice.
my number one. Poltergeist. Carol Ann is just perfect. This is the one I've watched with Brayden, not my other two, because Brayden's older. But 1982, a Poltergeist with Carol Ann getting sucked into the TV or wherever it is that she got sucked into, and her little brother being eaten by a tree, and you moved the cemetery, but the Craig T. Nelson, perfect. I just everything about it. Tangina was her name. What was her name? The little woman who said, "This house is clean." Tangina, yeah. So Carol Ann, I don't know what ever became of her, but she was stellar in all of the Poltergeist movies. The original one is the best by far, in my opinion, and it's definitely my number one, and I have to watch it before Halloween,
It
or
is
I
such
will
a good
just be
one, and
beside
it's one of those
myself.
movies that like is just evidence that there are so many great Halloween movies, and everyone experiences Halloween different. And there is nothing better than Hollywood. Any last comments before Hollywood? Jesus, Halloween. Wow. All right. So, any last comments before we wrap this up?
Uh, yes. So yesterday in the mail, we got
Woo!
2 new Halloween decorations. They are painted black. They're pink flamingos painted black, and with Day of the Dead type paintings on them in white. So they look like these little skeleton. I'll just send a picture to you. They look like these little skeleton flamingos in our front yard. And I'm just super psyched about it. We didn't even get the box into the house. I just said, open it now. We have to put them in right now. So,
can't wait.
It's October.
I'm sure we'll be watching, Freeform's like 30 days of Halloween. That's all we're going to be watching for the next 30 literally days. All right. So make sure you follow Christy on Twitter at Bring Me Up Music. I'm Chris, Mr. Crockpot. Make sure you follow all of our stuff on Twitter at SuitUpTPL and at CultureTPL. Thanks for listening, guys. Stay awesome.
Thanks. Happy Halloween.
Halloween.